They say grief can make you crazy, that it can rewrite memories, create phantoms, and blur the line between what was real and what you desperately wished was real. I know this because a tired, sympathetic police officer named Detective Miller told me so, his voice gentle as he slid a box of tissues across the cold steel table. He thought I was grieving a man I had imagined, a phantom. But I know the truth. I have 5 years of laughter etched into the walls of my apartment. I have the lingering scent of his coffee in my favorite mug. I have a wedding ring on my finger. My husband was real. I just have to prove it before they convince me I'm the one who is insane. It started on a Tuesday, the most ordinary of days. The sun was streaming through our bedroom window and Liam was tying the laces on his running shoes, the same way he did every morning. He leaned over and kissed my forehead, his lips cool. "Be back in an hour," he whispered. "Don't let the coffee get cold." I smiled, rolled over, and drifted back to sleep. When I woke up again, the sun was high in the sky and the coffee was stone cold. Liam wasn't back. His wallet was on the dresser, his phone was on the nightstand, his keys were in the small ceramic bowl by the door. Everything he was supposed to have with him was still here. Everything except him. By nightfall, a frantic, primal fear had taken root in my chest. I called his friends, the few he had. They hadn't seen him. I called the hospitals. No one matched his description. The next morning, I was sitting in the sterile beige interview room of the 17th precinct, across from Detective Miller. I gave him everything. Liam's full name, Liam Alexander Vance, his date of birth, a photo from our wedding day 2 years ago, a perfect, happy moment frozen in time. The detective was kind, patient. He took my statement, his pen scratching across his notepad. Then he went to run the information through the system. He was gone for a long time. When he returned, the kindness in his eyes was replaced by a look of cautious pity. "Ma'am," he began slowly, "I've run the name Liam Alexander Vance through every database we have. State, federal, DMV, IRS, Social Security, everything." He paused, taking a deep breath. "This person doesn't exist, Mrs. Thorne. It's not that he's missing, it's that, according to the official record, he was never here at all." The world tilted on its axis. "But we're married," I stammered, holding up my left hand, the gold band a heavy, suddenly foreign object. "We have a marriage license." "I had someone check," he said, his voice softening further. "The license on file for your wedding day lists only one name, yours. It was filed as a single-person declaration." The air in the room grew thin. Every piece of my reality was being systematically dismantled. The detective started asking me questions about stress, about recent life changes, about whether I had ever sought professional help for anxiety or memory issues. He was handling me with kid gloves, treating me not as the wife of a missing person, but as a woman who had suffered a profound psychological break. I fled the precinct, his pity chasing me out into the harsh sunlight. I went home, my home, our home, and tore it apart, a woman possessed. I needed proof. I needed to anchor myself to reality. I pulled out our wedding album. There he was, on every page, smiling, his arm around my waist. I could breathe again. See? Real. But the next morning, when I opened the album to reassure myself, the photos had changed. The picture of us cutting the cake now showed me standing alone, my hand holding the knife, a space of empty air where he should have been. The photo of our first dance was just me. My arms wrapped around nothing. I stumbled back, my mind reeling. Was I losing my mind? Was grief so powerful it could retroactively edit my life? Or was someone doing this to me? Was this a calculated, cruel campaign to make me doubt my own sanity? I decided to trust my memories. I had to. I started searching for the things someone couldn't change, the physical imprints he'd left in the world. I found it in the back of his closet, tucked inside an old shoebox I'd never seen before. It was a single tarnished key and a small leather-bound journal. The journal was filled with dense, handwritten notes, not in English, but in a complex code of symbols and numbers. And on the final page, a single terrifying sentence was written in plain English. They know I'm here. If you're reading this, they're coming for you next. The key was for a post office box in a town 2 hours away, a place I'd never even heard of. Driving there, I felt like I was being watched. Every car in my rearview mirror a potential threat. The P.O. box contained a small, heavy envelope. Inside was a driver's license. The face on it was Liam's, but the name was different, Julian Croft. And under it, a folded, yellowed newspaper clipping from 10 years ago. The headline read, "Whistleblower in Pharma Scandal Presumed Dead After Fiery Car Wreck." The article detailed how a brilliant research analyst named Julian Croft had exposed a powerful pharmaceutical company for faking clinical trial data on a dangerous new drug. He had turned over evidence to the press and was scheduled to testify before Congress, but his car had gone off a bridge the night before. His body was never recovered. Liam wasn't a ghost in the system. He was a man who had been professionally erased. He had survived that accident and had spent the last 10 years living a quiet, invisible life, a life with me. The knowledge was both a relief and a new kind of terror. He was real, but his past was real too, and it had finally caught up to him. As I drove home, a black sedan with tinted windows pulled out from a side street and began to follow me. I didn't go home. I drove to a motel, my hands shaking so badly I could barely turn the key in the lock. That night, I decoded the journal. It wasn't just notes, it was a ledger. It contained the real, unredacted data from the clinical trials, the names of the executives who signed off on the fraud, and a detailed account of the threats made against him. It was the one thing that could still destroy them. It was his life insurance. And now, it was mine. The last entry was dated the day he disappeared. It read, "I saw one of them outside the coffee shop. They found me. I have to lead them away from her. The only way to save her is to disappear again, this time for good. Tell Alara, tell her the 5 years we had were more real than anything else in my life." He hadn't abandoned me. He had sacrificed himself to protect me. His vanishing act wasn't an escape. It was a shield. The changed photos, the missing records, it was them, the corporation's fixers, meticulously scrubbing his existence from my life to isolate me, to make me seem unstable and unreliable if I ever went to the police. A sharp knock on the motel room door made me jump. I looked through the peephole. 2 men in dark suits stood outside. They had found me. But Liam, or Julian, had prepared for this. He had taught me things without me ever realizing it was a lesson. He taught me to be observant, to be resourceful. On the last page of the journal, there was one more line, a PS that I had almost missed. If they find you, the truth is your only weapon. The press is always listening. Tucked into the journal's spine was a tiny SD card. I called the police, not to report a missing person, but to report a break-in. Then I called the number for the top investigative journalist at the city's biggest newspaper, the number Julian had written on the back of the newspaper clipping. As the men outside began to break down the door, I spoke to the journalist, my voice clear and steady. My name is Alara Thorne, and I have proof that Julian Croft is alive, and I have the story that will tear down the most powerful company in this country. The door splintered open. The men rushed in. But they were too late. The story was already out. The truth was free. I don't know if I'll ever see Liam again. He's a ghost once more. A man who gave up his identity twice to do the right thing. I may be the only person on Earth who ever knows he ever really existed. They tried to make me believe I was crazy, that my love was a delusion, but they were wrong. My husband was real. And his legacy, a legacy of truth and sacrifice, is one they will never be able to erase.